True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. And if you'd like to skip the intro or move to any specific part of the podcast, please refer to the timestamps listed in the episode description. Thank you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the True Crime Society podcast. It's Stephanie and Olivia. It is November 16th somehow. We are almost at the end of the year. It's ridiculous. Weirdly, 2025, not to talk about the weather like we always do, but there was a cold thunderstorm here yesterday. It's been in the 30s, very, very cold from some cold front in Canada. And I don't know if everyone has experienced a cold weather thunderstorm, but it's a little different than a warm one, because the thunder sounds so different. It's crazy. And apparently it's because, me, a failed meteorology student, just wanted to know about it. So I was reading. Because there's hot air in the upper atmosphere and the cold air underneath. And the hot layer kind of traps in the sound waves. So when there's thunder, it goes on forever. And it feels like an earthquake. It literally was shaking my whole house. Even my sister was texting me. She lives close by. She was like, what the hell is up with this thunder? It's ridiculous. It's really scary.
Yeah, I don't know if I have ever experienced a cold weather one. I probably have, but yeah, that's insane.
I know. Even online, everybody was like, what is up with this thunder? It's so weird and crazy and loud. It literally was like an earthquake. It was rumbling my whole house. But so that's the weather here. It's been cold. What about by you?
Getting hot. Yeah. It's I'm on my computer, obviously recording, and down the bottom it's fire, weather, danger.
Oh, so yeah. You always have that.
Yeah. Just summer's here. Even last night we were sitting on the couch and I said to my husband, can you smell smoke? And we could. I don't know where it was coming from, but anyway, it was fine. It's been nice. Yeah, not too much rain. Sunny, hot, getting warmer. In Patreon, I was just saying it's only 2 weeks till summer, so that's exciting. Nelly finished school and everything for the year, so looking forward to that.
We did have our first snow, not any significant snow, but it flurried a little, so that was exciting, I guess. Not really exciting because
my kids are because they've never seen snow. I didn't ever see snow either till I was probably 15 or something, and I went on a trip to the snow. But they're like, Mum, I still have never seen the snow. I'm like, don't worry, you've got your whole lives. You'll be right. You'll see.
Yeah, it's not that exciting. It's cold. I did have one incident I thought was worth talking about, making my chat topic this week. So I have security cameras around my house, so if any of you are thinking about coming here, don't. But the only thing I pick up on them is my Amazon deliveries, the turkeys in my yard. There was once a bear, which was the surprise. But the other day, I'm sitting in the nursery and I'm rocking baby Jack because he's napping, and my thing goes off that there is motion at my front door and then at my garage camera. So I was like, it's probably I was actually I don't think I got any deliveries coming. What could it be? So I look, there's this huge dog. It is the biggest dog I've ever seen in my life. I think it was a Cane Corso, or an XL Bully. I'm not really sure exactly. But he ran up next to my car, and I have an SUV. He could have probably jumped on top of my car. He was the biggest. It was like a horse. I sent Olivia the video, and she was also like, that dog's like a horse. And normally I'm the first person to be like, oh my God, I got to save that lost dog. There's been times where I've pulled over on the road to run after a dog that was on the run to catch him. Growing up in my parents' house, somehow lost dogs would always just end up at that house. I'd go outside and I'd get them and I'd find their owners online. I take great pride in rescuing lost dogs. But in my mind, I was literally oh shit, I better go grab that dog. And then I was looking at him and I was better not. That dog could murder me. I know a lot of dogs could probably attack you, but I don't know. I'm not trying to be it's a mean breed, because I know a lot of them. She could have been perfectly nice, but when you see this dog rocking up in your yard, he might have been scared. I don't know if he's nice, and that dog could have taken me down so easily. And I was like, eh. So I did what I could. I posted it in the local lost pets group. Nobody said he was missing, so maybe he lived around here and went back home.
Yeah, might have just been out for a little wander or something like that.
Yeah, but now I'm scared. I'm living in fear. I'm I can't go outside. What if that dog comes? What if he comes?
on my street, there's like my dogs aren't because they're naughty and they would run away, but some of the other dogs are free range dogs, so like they just kind of wander and everyone knows them. Like we all know their names. And there is one dog and his name is Ned, and he looks super scary. He's got like a massive head. He's like some type of mastiff, staffy or something. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's the friendliest dog. But it's so funny because I'm like, if you were walking down the street and you saw him out there, you'd be like, oh my god. But he's so friendly. Looks can be deceiving.
Yeah, like I know this guy could have been friendly, but like I'm not gonna risk it with my life finding out.
I absolutely. If I didn't know this dog, I wouldn't be patting him or whatever. But yeah, I agree. It's just funny how some of them can look so mean and tough and they're big babies.
Yeah, I'm like having intrusive thoughts about it now. I'm like, if I go outside, like what if I have Jack in the car seat, and what if this dog comes? What if he attacks me? What am I gonna do? And I'm like, when I go outside, I have to like look all around, make sure this dog's not here. Like, I don't know. You just get these crazy invasive thoughts as a parent of everything possible that could go wrong when you're out with a baby.
Yeah. When I had my first daughter, we lived in a 2-story house, so we had stairs, and my thing was always, I'm going to fall down the stairs while I'm holding the baby, and they were wooden stairs as well. Like, so I'm like, oh my god. And once like I almost slipped, I still remember that, like the feeling of being like, oh my god, just getting down the stairs with this baby. That was always my intrusive thoughts.
I always I luckily don't have any stairs in my house. It's one level because I'm poor. No, I'm just kidding. It's one level though. But I did always have a fear of like walking with him and tripping. And what's funny, not funny. And I was like, I'm never telling anyone this. And here I am talking on my podcast about it. But we brought him to like an apple orchard once, and I was walking with him and I stepped on an apple and I like kind of tripped. I like caught myself on my knees and he was sleeping and he like didn't even wake up. But it was so fucking traumatizing. I was like, oh my God, I'm a horrible mom. I just tripped with my baby.
Oh my gosh.
So ridiculous. But yeah, that's what I have to talk about today. What about you?
Well, I don't really have anything, but I've got these 2 listeners of the week I thought we could do. Maybe I'll just say.
Okay.
So the one thing I did want to mention is I feel like we've been a little bit slack doing our listener of the week for the last few weeks. Been a lot going on. So I thought we'd have 2 today because we did have 2 lovely comments. One is from Natasha. In our Mums Who Murder episode, which was our last one that we released, I mentioned how I think the full moon can sometimes affect people's behavior.
We got a lot of comments.
Yeah.
Saying that it does.
Yeah, like someone was like, I'm an ER nurse. It absolutely does. So I'm glad that people weren't like, you're an idiot. So she said, the moon 100% affects behaviour. I'm an ex-prison officer in the UK and I could always tell when it was a full moon based on the inmates' behaviour. Another great episode of Girls, my favourite podcast. So that was really nice. And the other one, just quickly, that I wanted to mention this week is from Eric. He said, a rare dude listener here. I love the daily updates and the podcast. It helps me get through work every day. Shout out from West Coast, USA. So thank you. We have a lot of comments on our Spotify and things like that. And I feel like a lot of the comments are about the chat. Like they're like, rather than even about the case. So it's, interesting. We love the comments. Keep them coming.
Yeah, a lot of people on Patreon also agreed about the full moon and how you're like, oh, I'm glad that like people didn't say I'm an idiot. I was thinking, well, if I said it, people definitely would have been like, Stephanie, you're an idiot.
We also just did have one other funny comment. I'm just trying to find it because I sent it to you. If you don't know how Spotify comments work, basically you go into the episode you're listening to and you can write a comment. We can respond once, but then if you come and respond again, you can't have a continued conversation. It's limited to like one response from the podcast creator, and you can respond again. So someone did come back to a very old episode where they had whinged about the chat, and I had responded to them and said, you can use the timestamps. And they actually wrote, fair yes, I'm sorry I didn't know about skipping ahead. Thank you for your explanation. I do apologize for not being kind. I thought that's so nice. Everyone's usually, that was nice of her to at least be
it's nice when somebody can be like, I was being a jerk. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, we love the comments. Keep them coming.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So everyone who owes us an apology, please get to it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the case of Natasha Ryan, but before we get into that, we have 2 updates to go over. One is that one is with the Delphi case. We've done tons of episodes on this, just as like the briefest reminder. This is a case about Libby and Abby. They were murdered in February 2017. A man named Richard Allen was arrested in 2022 and was convicted in 2024. It's a very controversial conviction. There's a ton going on. So if you don't know what we're talking about, either you just won't care about this update, or go listen to our other episodes because it's like a crazy case if you don't know it, honestly. We've followed this case forever. But there is a little bit of an update. Obviously, Richard Allen is appealing his conviction, and new evidence has been made public. That was from the Franks hearing that they did in September 2023. So this is from an article, just quickly, from Fox 59. It says the newly filed evidence came at the request of Allen's appellate team, which indicated it needed the evidence to pursue the appeal. It was a massive blow to Richard Allen's defense strategy when the judge ruled that his attorneys couldn't introduce any evidence during the trial that pointed towards another suspect in the killing. His defense team had planned to try to convince a jury that several practitioners of religion known as Odinism could have killed the girls. So that was part of what I meant by it was like very controversial because the judge didn't allow certain stuff. And there's just a lot of shady people that live in that area, apparently. So Judge Gull ruled that there was not enough nexus or connection between the supposed third-party suspects in the crime, so they weren't allowed to bring up any of the Odinism stuff at the trial. So the 1,200 pages of material released Monday are from the Franks hearing, like I mentioned, and they contain a lot of evidence related to the Odinism theory, along with several depositions of key investigators. Many of the exhibits are posts made by a man named Brad Holder, who is a confirmed Odinist and was looked into by investigators. His son was friends with one of the girls, Abby. And it's funny because I remember before there was ever an arrest, like it took a long time for them to make an arrest in this case. Me and Olivia followed this case forever. We had a Facebook group about it. And I remember people would send Brad Holder's posts and people would talk about Brad Holder like in the Facebook group as being kind of weird.
Yeah.
So some of the exhibits include a photo of a large branch covering two people, which is similar to the layout of the crime scene. I don't really know what the point of the Facebook post is. There's a picture of it, and it says if a tree falls in the woods, and then there's like two people under it, I guess, in like a weird position. It looks like it's meant to be a meme, but I don't get it.
It looks so similar to the crime scene photos. Like I that's the one thing, like, you know, this whole Odinism thing, I'm like, I don't know, maybe. But like, I feel like that is a creepy photo, and it was so similar to how the girls were found.
It doesn't mention it in this article, but remember Brad Holder also posted like all the runes and stuff, and they were trying to say like there's weird symbols at the crime scene, like all that too. But in the evidence that's mentioned in the articles and stuff, there's also a painting that Brad Holder did that resembles the way one of the girls' bodies was posed, and had several posts of symbols with sticks. Like I think it was that they tried to say like Abby maybe had like sticks above her head, almost looking like antlers or something. And the painting, I think, was something like that from what I remember. Richard Allen's lawyers claim that sticks at the crime scene were deliberately placed on the girls' bodies to make Odinist symbols. One of his defense attorneys said, remember, they thought it was two people and they released sketches of two people and they asked the entire nation to identify those two people, neither of whom were the eventual defendant. His attorney has followed the case closely and recently told Fox 59 that he believes challenging Judge Gull's decision to not allow any of that evidence will be the strongest argument for Richard Allen's appeal. He said, the jury needs to understand this was not a single perpetrator theory, and this guy was not the first guy that you wanted to arrest. So there's a lot about that too. There's two sketches. It seems like they had no idea for a long time, like who did it. There's so many theories out there, so many people looked into, but I guess that's like how any investigation goes. Like they look into people until they find the one. But I do like not to get into everything again about this case, because like I said, it's very crazy. But I do think they really didn't prove that like Richard Allen did it beyond a reasonable doubt. Like there's so much doubt and like there's so many shady people. I don't know. It's just like a very crazy case and sad that seems like the family will never have like a solid answer.
I did post the Facebook post, and then they also had like kind of a side-by-side comparison of a sketch of the crime scene with how the girls were found. I might post it again once this episode comes out in case you missed it. But I asked people what they thought, and the results are very polarizing. Like some people were like, no, absolutely, it's Richard Allen. This is ridiculous. Whereas other people are like, I've never thought it was him, or I've thought other people were involved. I don't know. It's I think I've said in the episode, I wouldn't be surprised if there are other people involved. Someone also made the comment along the lines of, well, Richard confessed, and he did, but he didn't, like they said, did he actually give a blow by blow account of what happened, or did he just say I killed them? And I'm pretty sure from my memory he just said I did it. It was
they tried to say it was like a coerced like confession.
Yeah,
to, like,
because obviously because of the conditions that he was held in apparently in prison and his mental health. Like there was a whole bunch of reasons why he. It was interesting. And even in this case the main case we're going to talk about today, it involves a false confession as well. It happens all the time. People confess for different reasons when they didn't actually commit the crime. So I don't know. he is shady, but I just feel like all of this whole thing is shady. And I am interested to see where the appeal goes.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying, like, I totally think he's innocent, but I'm just like, they don't have me convinced that he, like, for sure did it, which, like, is the whole point, really.
And I think we were shocked when he was convicted, but then obviously they didn't allow the cameras in the courtroom, and we could only get the tweets and all that, so we didn't actually know kind of the general feel of the courtroom and what everyone was thinking. But yeah, I agree.
Even not having the cameras
proved it either way.
Shady.
Mm.
I don't know. We could talk about this forever, clearly, but we also did the crime scene photos were like leaked. I don't know if should I not talk about that, or like the crime scene photos, they were posted around. Me and Olivia did see them. We obviously didn't share them because they really shouldn't be out there at all. But we can say that the picture of the tree that Brad Holder posted does look pretty similar to the way the girls were, even if it's just a coincidence. It's just very strange.
Yeah. But the document that was so it was last week now at the time of recording. It's a 1,200-page document. If you want to go through it, I'll link it again on our Instagram. And I might put in the Delphi highlights if you want to check it out. But yeah, 1,200 pages of information. I feel like it's just going to be ongoing for so long, this case.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to go on forever.
Yeah.
And so the next update, it's like a huge update that I feel like no one's talking about it because I feel like everyone just kind of like forgot about this case.
Yeah.
But it's with the Skelton brothers. We did an episode on them in 2023. Info comes from Fox 2 Detroit. It has a little summary, so I'll just read it from the article instead of you having to listen to me try to summarize it. So there's 3 brothers, the boys, Andrew, who is 9, Alexander, who is 7, and Tanner, who is 5. They spent Thanksgiving with their father in Michigan. Their parents were separated in 2010. Their mother, Tanya, was supposed to go pick them up from her ex-husband the next day. However, she stopped hearing from John Skelton, that's the father, so she went to his house. He wasn't home because he was at the hospital after he broke his ankle. And according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, he told hospital workers that he injured his ankle while trying to commit suicide. Police were able to get into his home where they found the house totally destroyed, but the boys weren't there. John Skelton is accused of changing the story of where they were while he was at the hospital. He said that they were with friends before telling investigators that the boys were given to an unknown woman. He also told police that he gave them to an underground group that would keep them safe. So, clearly we can't be believing him.
Yeah.
Search parties, they looked for the boys, but they were never found. And John Skelton never told anyone where they actually were and if they were still alive, aside from his stories of giving them to unknown people or random groups. So according to Tanya, the mother, John Skelton previously claimed that the boys would hibernate until they graduate, but all 3 boys are now old enough that they would have graduated from high school and they haven't emerged. So clearly that was a lie. John, he did get arrested on charges of false imprisonment of the boys. He was never actually charged with the murders or anything like that. He was due to be released this month, but he actually just got charged with 3 counts of murder. And we don't have any information about why they were suddenly able to charge him, but it happened. And it's crazy news because everyone knew it all along. It was obvious that he probably killed them. But now he's been charged with it. So hopefully we'll find out more information. I also think it's low-key hilarious that he was probably getting out of prison. I'm getting away with it. And they're like, no, sir. Here's 3 murder charges because we know what you did.
So he did serve almost 15 years in prison for the false imprisonment charges. And this article says that he was due to be released on November 29th. But when that date comes, he'll be transported to another county jail and booked on charges of open murder. So that will be probably meaning a jury trial will happen. But yeah, I am so interested. Obviously, like you said, it's pretty obvious that he is involved in whatever happened with them, but I wonder why they've been able to bring these charges now and not 15 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't know the story, I'd listen to our episode. I'd listen to it anyways because it's just an insane story. It was one that I would just randomly think about all the time, being like, damn, that's crazy.
And I feel too, we've covered it a few times. We've done Melody Buzzard recently. She's still missing. Timothy Pitson is another one where the parent often takes the child and won't tell anyone else where it is. But to do 3 children and be able to have hidden them for this long, it is a crazy, crazy case. So yeah, he is due in court at the end of this month. We'll keep you updated if we learn more. There haven't been any affidavits or anything released yet. I'm assuming once he is booked and on those 3 charges at the end of the month, we might hear a bit more.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about a case. We're going to be doing something different because Olivia did the research for this case on Natasha Ryan. and thought it was so crazy that it would be better for me to not read the notes, which everyone accuses me of anyways, but this time I really didn't read the notes. So I'm going in pretty blind. I do know some things that Olivia mentioned to me like before we decided to do this, and it was a little crazy. But I don't know the story at all. So Olivia's going to be reading it, and I'm going to be saying my thoughts.
Yeah, so it is an Australian case, so I feel like a lot of people may have not heard about it, which I think is a good thing, just because this is one of those cases that is almost too unbelievable to be true. But it happened a little while ago, and it was recently in the news again due to some recent developments. But when I started doing the research, I was just like, I cannot actually believe that this all really happened. If this was happening now, it would probably be the biggest news in the whole entire world. But because it happened a little while ago, it's gone under the radar, and just, like event after event after event happened, and it's just like mind-blowing. It is the case of Australian woman Natasha Ryan. Natasha went missing when she was 14 years old, and both a friend of hers and a serial killer were thought to be suspects in her disappearance. So Natasha was found alive 5 years later. She became known as the girl in the cupboard. There's a lot going on in this case, but that's just a general overview of what we're going to talk about today. As some background, Natasha Ann Ryan was born on 9th of May 1984. We don't really know too much about her family. They did appear in media articles and in court and things like that. Her mother is Jenny Ryan, her father is Robert, and Donna is her sister. Natasha was given the name Grasshopper by her father when she was a little girl. They lived in Rockhampton in Queensland. In the 2021 census, the population of Rockhampton was 79,000. Like, if you're looking at a map, it's on the east coast of Australia, kind of 3/4 of the way up. It's kind of like a hot area. Queensland is known as, a kind of bit more tropical state. Just to give you a little bit of an idea where in Australia this is happening. In 1998, Natasha's parents divorced, and this caused some issues in the household. Obviously, it's a tough transition time for anyone when this happens. Natasha began to act out. So she was around 14 at this time. She started to skip school, and she also began dating a 22-year-old named Scott Black. Scott worked as a milk delivery driver at the time. In July of that year, 1998, Scott helped Natasha to run away from home. He told authorities that during this time he hadn't seen her, but Natasha was only away for 2 days before she went home. So, this is a 22-year-old has no business dating a 14-year-old anyway, but This is obviously a bit of a lead up to the things that are going to happen. Since Scott did lie to police by saying that he hadn't seen Natasha while she was missing, he was charged with willful obstruction of police work. He would later plead guilty to this in the following year, November 1999.
Would it be a crime there that they were having a relationship, or like they would?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess how could you prove it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Almost like
her parents went after him.
And also too, this is in the 90s where, things weren't as technological. There's probably
more
not
loose.
as much. Yeah. So I guess, I'm sure her parents knew. I have no doubt that her parents knew, but what can you really do? Like, at that point, can you prove it? I don't know. I guess also they were probably, I'm not saying it's right, but maybe they were trying to keep the peace with Natasha if she was this troubled teen, anyway. And it is a very messed up situation. So after she left for the 2 days, Natasha told her mother, Jenny, that she would never try to run away again. Jenny began driving her daughter to school every morning and tried to get her to stop seeing Scott. Jenny has said that things seemed to improve in the household, and Natasha did seem happier and more settled. Now, this is a kind of strange part of the story. One of Natasha's close friends at the time was a man named, and I hope I'm saying this right, I did look it up, but it's a little bit tricky for me, was Mahoya Tokutawa. So they, along with some friends, had begun experimenting with drugs and alcohol. One night in 1998, they went to pick up some drugs from two older men, and one of the men was named Leonard Fraser. When they got to pick up the drugs, they were attacked, and her friend has said that he was drugged by Leonard and he was raped. Natasha was unable to help because she was quite small, and apparently these men had a much larger stature, so she couldn't really do anything. Her friend said, I remember lying there and feeling a needle go into my arm. I started feeling heavy. From that point on, everything was a blur. So eventually after this, Mahoya and Natasha were able to return to their homes. This is a crazy incident. I haven't been able to really verify that it did actually happen. There are articles with her friend, but I'm like, anyway, we'll get into it. But I just wanted to add it in because this just seems like a crazy part of the story that gets glossed over if it is true. But apparently this is what was happening at the time.
Yeah, it's weird.
So on 31st of August 1998, Jenny dropped Natasha off at school. As we mentioned, Natasha was 14 by this point. She didn't return home from school that day, so she was reported missing. The search for her began. Jenny assumed that Natasha was with Scott, her older boyfriend, and that she would return home within a few days or weeks when her money ran out. Despite this, though, Natasha did not resurface. One of the last people to see Natasha alive had been her friend Mahaya, and that was the one we mentioned before, who was in this incident with the drug dealers, who was apparently raped and attacked as well. He spoke to the media after Natasha disappeared. He said, "I felt guilty because Natasha was there when I was raped. When she went missing a week later, I blamed myself, feeling that Natasha had run away after she saw what happened to me. I cried every single night because I believed Natasha was dead."
I like that he's making this about him.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, I have lots of thoughts about him. And so I'm trying to tell the story chronologically. So this is what was happening. Mahoya has said the friend Mahoya became a prime suspect in the case. Plainclothes police watched his house 24 hours a day. They tried to get evidence against him. I believe he was 15 or 16-ish years old at the time. So they thought that maybe, for whatever reason, he had hurt Natasha. So he was a suspect in the case.
Mm-hmm.
In December of 1998, so a few months after Natasha went missing, a woman named Julie Turner, who was 39, disappeared in Rockhampton after a night out on the town. She'd been out with friends and decided to walk home because she didn't have enough money for a taxi, and she disappeared. In March of 1999, another woman, Beverly Lego, also disappeared in Rockhampton. And there was another woman named Sylvia Benedetti, who was 19, and she went missing in April 1999. So this is a lot of women in a smallish area. Like, that's 4 women plus Natasha.
It's like a small area, right?
3 women plus Natasha to go missing in such a small amount of time, and obviously this is a time before CCTV and all that type of thing, but it's still a lot for these 4 women to go missing in such a short amount of time.
And it's like a small area, I'm assuming.
Yeah, very like a town of 80,000 people. Don't get me wrong, it's not like a tiny town, but 4 women going missing.
Still a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Jenny Ryan, Natasha's mother, spoke to the media in 1999, and she said that she thought Natasha was dead. She said, "I don't believe Natasha would have let me go through all the pain if she was out there." So also in April 1999 in Rockhampton, a child named Kira Steinhardt, she was 9. She was attacked, sexually assaulted, and murdered while walking home from school.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. She was knocked unconscious by her attacker. And so the attacker picked her up and kind of put her over his shoulder, and a woman witnessed this and called police. So she was able to provide a description of the man, and then they released the description of this person who they were looking for. A prison guard contacted authorities and suggested they look into a man named Leonard Fraser in relation to the attack on the child and the cases of the missing women. So we mentioned Leonard earlier. He was apparently this drug dealer who Natasha and her friend had gone to pick up the drugs from, and he had been the one who had raped and attacked the friend, apparently. Leonard had been in and out of prison for decades, and he was known to be a serial rapist. Leonard would eventually confess to murdering Kira the child and would lead police to her body. Police also found 4 different DNA profiles in Leonard's car, and they discovered ponytails from 3 women in his apartment.
Ew.
So a creep, disgusting guy, obviously a very bad person.
Yeah.
Despite all of this, in 2000, which was 2 years after Natasha disappeared, her friend was arrested, Mahoya, and he was 16 years old at that time. He was arrested and charged in relation to the case. He spoke to the media later. He said, "They arrested me during my English class in front of my classmates. My teacher was crying. The school counsellor came running in telling the cops that they couldn't do this."
That's crazy.
I know. So even though, and again, this is his version of events, and it's a little, it's been a long time.
Dramatic.
It's not like now where we can go and look at court documents and things like that. This is what his version of events was. Despite all of this, police weren't able to continue to prosecute him. He said, "It was horrible. I couldn't face walking down the street, and I didn't go to school for months because police were looking at me and thinking I had murdered my best friend." So it was only after Leonard Fraser, who was the man who had allegedly raped Mahoya, was arrested on other charges that Mahoya was cleared. Leonard was secretly taped while in prison, confessing to Natasha's murder, and he said that he had buried her body under a mango tree. In May 2001, so a few years after she disappeared and after Leonard's confession, Natasha's family held a memorial for her at a crematorium in Bundaberg in Queensland. More than 70 people attended the memorial, and her father, Robert, spoke about how Natasha had cared so much about helping the less fortunate that she once gave up her Christmas to visit the sick and needy. So her family were convinced that she was dead. A serial killer had confessed to murdering her. I guess what
I would
other
also
reason?
be convinced that she would be dead at that point.
Yeah. This in 1998, she went missing. That was 2001. So years and years later.
And also the confession. So I'd be like, all right, makes sense.
Yeah. In December 2001, Leonard drew maps which indicated where the other missing women were buried, Julie, Beverly, and Sylvia. Police did go and use those maps, and they found the remains of the 3 women in December 2001. Leonard did keep drawing maps of where Natasha's remains were, but they were never able to be found. So Leonard's murder trial began in 2003. This is now 5 years after Natasha went missing. So the trial began in 2003. While the trial was ongoing, on the 10th of April 2003, police received an anonymous tip and they raided a home in North Rockhampton that night. And when they raided the home, Natasha was found alive, hiding in a bedroom cupboard in Scott Black's home. So Scott was her 22-year-old boyfriend, who was 22 at the time she went missing. She was found hiding in a cupboard in his home.
So how many years has this been now?
5 years. 5 years.
Wow.
The following day, the news of Natasha's recovery was announced during the murder trial. So this man, Leonard Fraser, is a creep, but he was on trial for her murder. And during the murder trial, they announced that Natasha has been found alive.
Oh my God.
This info is from the Sydney Morning Herald. It says, her father, Robert, said he almost collapsed. His daughter had come back from the dead. He said, all I can think is I've got the chance to cuddle her again. So I guess as a parent, you would be in disbelief. You'd be like, surely this can't be happening. Robert has said that he spoke to Natasha on the phone and asked her to confirm the childhood nickname he had given her. When she said it was Grasshopper, he knew that it was her and she was really alive. This information about the family finding out is from The Guardian. It says the family's lawyer said when police phoned Jenny Ryan yesterday to tell her they had found Natasha, she at first assumed they were talking about a body. The lawyer said Mrs. Ryan was in shock and she didn't know if she could believe it, and she was concerned it may have been a false alarm. When Natasha and Jenny were reunited, the lawyer said their reunion had been an emotional scene. It was sad to realise that Mrs. Ryan for all of these years had assumed her daughter was dead, but it was nice to see them finally reunited. So I just can't even imagine the mixed emotions. Yeah.
It makes me wonder, so did Leonard, the serial killer, rapist, bad guy, is there someone else that he murdered and he just thought it was Natasha? I always wonder that with serial killers when they're like, oh, where's this person? Where's this person? Do they really remember all of their victims when there's so many of them?
Yeah. And I know he confessed to these ones in Rockhampton, so maybe he's like, oh yeah, maybe that was
He's like, yeah,
one.
it's probably me.
And if he was also a drug dealer, maybe he was also on drugs, I don't know. Maybe he just thought, yeah, I don't know. They haven't really ever gone into much detail about why he confessed when he didn't do it, but there could be a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder, is there someone else that he murdered that they don't know about?
Yeah. So it was discovered that Natasha and Scott had been living together since her 1998 disappearance. They'd moved houses a few times since then, but for the last 6 months that she was missing, their house had been only 4 kilometres or 2.5 miles from the house of Natasha's family. So that is insane. Imagine being that close after thinking your daughter was dead for 5 years.
I'd be so annoyed. I get why her family's happy, but I'd also be like, are you kidding me?
It would be mixed emotions too. How could you do? I'm assuming it would be joy and shock initially, but then after a while, I'm sure there would also be anger and, why did you do this to us? You could have just told her she wanted to stay with him. Or, Anyway, there would have been a whole bunch of things going on.
Right.
The next part I also found really strange in this case. So, despite Natasha being found alive, Leonard's defence did not lodge an appeal for a mistrial. So he'd been charged with the murder of a woman who was alive. And the trial continued for the murder of the other women. So I feel like if, as a defense attorney or a defense team, surely this would have been a prime time to try and get the case thrown out.
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, that didn't happen. Natasha actually attended her own murder trial to answer questions on the 30th of April 2003. She told the court that she had never met Leonard and she did not know the witness who had said that she had previously met him. So the witness, as far as I can tell from what I've read and what is inferred, is her friend Mahoya. So she doesn't know why Mahoya has said, maybe she doesn't want her family to know that they were doing drugs if it is true. But I just feel like this whole insertion by the friend into the case is very strange if it isn't true.
Yeah, like, just makes me wonder, like, is it true? Like, I don't know.
So when
but she
I was
also,
Googling,
I don't believe her either, essentially.
No.
So.
And also, if she was doing drugs, maybe she just didn't remember Leonard or she thought it was someone else. Like, I don't know. But I just feel like it was another
It's been a long
time
at this point.
So when I was Googling to see if there was anything else on the friend or Mahoya or anything like that, he made the media, again, I'm just jumping forward a little bit because this will be the point where we leave him out, because essentially he had nothing to do with the case. He just seems to be trying to insert himself. But he did make the media again in 2017. He, by this point, was married to a man. He said that after Natasha disappeared, Mahoya moved back to New Zealand and then he moved back to Australia. He said that basically he found his husband's body. So he was 33 by this point, and he found his husband, who was Joth Wilson, who was 25. He was battered and unconscious beneath a bridge in Brisbane. He found Joth on New Year's morning after the husband didn't return home from buying cigarettes. His husband had a broken neck, back, ribs, and burns to nearly half of his body. And Mahoya has suspected that his husband was involved in a gay hate crime. But then this is the rest of the article. But since reports of the incident have surfaced, Queensland police have said they are not pursuing Mahoya's version of events. They have said that Joth Wilson was involved in a separate incident in which he climbed onto the roof of a stadium until he was talked down by police. So again, like, what is going on? All these versions of events, and then he's out there doing an article about it. Yeah, I don't know. It's very, very strange. So I wonder how much of the Leonard Fraser stuff beforehand was actually true. Natasha has denied it. Maybe it's not. Mahoya went on to speak about why he had left Australia, but he ended up moving back. He said he wanted to heal from painful experiences he endured while living in Australia as a youngster. He said, I've come here to settle some of my childhood stuff. This is my life in Australia. It's drama-filled. I've never copped a break over here. So just a weird aside to that whole story. I still don't really know what is correct in that terms of those versions of events.
Yeah.
So the murder trial was April 2003. In June 2003, Leonard was sentenced to 3 indefinite prison terms for the murders of Beverly, Sylvia, and the manslaughter of Julie Turner. He did end up dying in prison in 2007 from a heart attack, so he only survived for a few more years in prison. After Natasha was found, she became known as the girl in the cupboard. She would later tell the media, I remember exactly when I left home. I was only 14, but Mum was always nagging about Scott and me. I felt like I needed to get away for a little while. So she said that she left Scott's house only 6 times during the 5 years to go to the beach at night, and that she also got food poisoning because she had to teach herself how to cook and she didn't know. So she obviously got salmonella or some type of food poisoning.
Mental illness. Like,
oh, no.
You only left the house 6 times. Well, hiding in a cupboard for one. You only left the house 6 times at night to go to the beach. Like,
yeah.
What?
She said that she often wore men's clothes, I guess, because obviously she couldn't really go out to the shops and buy more clothes. She watched the hunt for her body on TV, and that she took out her frustrations on a punching bag that was in the house. She also said that she had learnt yoga positions to be able to hide comfortably in Scott's cupboard when he has visitors. So there are photos of her in the cupboard. There's photos of the cupboard. She said, every time someone came around to Scott's house, as they did a lot in the early days, I hid. In the closed cupboard, there was room for me to stand up if I bent my head, but I sat in a yoga position because it was comfortable. So the cupboard is tiny. It's not like a walk-in wardrobe.
Americans, it's a closet. Like,
yeah, a closet.
Cupboard is like kind of something different to us.
Yeah,
but it's literally, it's a small closet.
A very small closet, like it's one door. It's not like a walk-in wardrobe or a walk-in closet or anything like that. It's literally where you'd open. There'd be a hanging rack where you'd have enough stuff, let's say to hang 10 items. It's just like, I'll put photos on the blog. But it is
You wouldn't be able to put your arms out to your sides and have them both be straight out. It's very small.
After she was found, she, I guess, went back into the cupboard or a very similar cupboard, and she basically has to fold herself up. Like, she can't just be in there and, stretch out. She's literally upright in this cupboard, closet. It's like a small, very, very small area.
I can't imagine why you would ever want to date a man so badly that you'd be willing to do this.
Yeah. And like, also, why not move away? Like, where you can go and live your life. And
right at this point, how old is she
well, she was 14 when she went missing, so she would have been 19-ish when she was found. So that when she was asked why she didn't come forward earlier, she did say she stayed in hiding because the lie had become too big, which I kind of understand. You know, how are you ever going to recover from this? How can you ever tell your parents, hey, I'm actually alive? I understand feeling overwhelmed by all of that. So Natasha and Scott faced criminal charges for their role into the false investigation into her murder. Scott was sentenced to a 3-year jail sentence for perjury in 2005 after he pled guilty to lying about Natasha's whereabouts. 2 years of the sentence was suspended.
So did the police – sorry, just random thought. I don't mean to interrupt. Did the police never look in his home?
Well, I don't know. Like they knew that. Like even the mother said that she suspected it was him. I'm like, I
feel like there had to have been like some hints. That
and also, why wouldn't he have been? Like, I have no doubt they probably did investigate him, but why wasn't he one of the main suspects? If the parents knew that she had been dating him, and
like, isn't the partner always kind of like the first place they look?
Yeah, I feel like he did move away relatively soon after she disappeared, and then they ended up moving back to the house that was closer. But still, it just feels like surely it was a pretty shitty investigation if they didn't look too much into him.
Seems like, seems like the police should have been able to be like, oh, here she is in your closet.
Yeah. So in 2006, Natasha was found guilty of causing a false police investigation and was fined a whole $1,000. Oh. During the proceedings, Scott was fined $3,000 and he was ordered to pay $16,000 towards investigation costs. I have read some figures that say the investigation cost upwards of $500,000.
You can't convince me that.
I know.
Unless it's like just the police officers' salaries or something.
Yeah, and I guess for 5 years. Yeah. Anyway, but like I just feel like it's not a crime to go missing, but then I guess at what point do you become
wasting people's time?
Yeah, wasting resources and all that type of stuff. Natasha did some interviews after her disappearance. Some reports indicate that she made over $200,000 from appearances and interviews.
Profit.
Yeah. Natasha told New Idea magazine in 2007, he was protecting me and I caused him to do it. It was my fault that he did it. She said, it was my decision to run away. He was doing something really lovely and protecting me, and I felt like I should have been or deserved to be punished. She also said, I'm never going to say publicly why I left. I know why I left. I'm not sure my mum and sister completely know all the reasons. I'm not sure it would make any difference. Well, yeah, she didn't mention the dad, but I feel like because their parents were divorced, maybe she was living with the mum and the sister, so that's why she mentions them. She said, I'm not sure it would make any difference saying why I left. I feel whatever I say wouldn't be good enough for the pain I have caused my family.
I feel like she just doesn't have a good reason, and that's why she's like, it's mysterious.
And she just I feel like she just got carried away. Like she was a child. She was a 14-year-old girl. I'm not excusing her behavior. It was being horrible behavior. But yeah, she was being groomed. And then I understand that, you just get carried away and things, all of a sudden it's 5 years later.
Yeah.
So despite all the turmoil and craziness, Natasha and Scott did stay together. They got married in 2008, which is 5 years after she was found. Again, some reports indicate they signed a deal with Woman's Day magazine for exclusive photo rights of the wedding for $200,000. The couple had gold wedding bands made with the words "Happy Days Always" engraved on them. So the couple ended up having 3 or 4 children together. Some reports say 3, some others say 4. But they did quieten down, I guess, after the initial media attention. They weren't really in the media again until 2011 when they faced court after they had an argument, and I guess authorities were called and they were they appeared in court for kind of minor reasons. Natasha was said to have studied nursing after she reappeared into the world, and she had been working as a radiology nurse. So they stayed around Rockhampton. I don't know if they always stayed in the same house, but they stayed around the same area. She seemed to just be trying to, I guess, get on with her life, having these kids, working as a nurse. She kind of faded a bit into obscurity, I guess, just trying to move on with things. But that was the case until last year, which is actually how I I added this case to our calendar after this next incident happened because I knew about it, but I thought I'm going to look into this more after this incident. On Sunday, the 2nd of June, 2024, police responded to a welfare check at the Rockhampton golf course. Scott had alerted authorities after Natasha had disappeared from their home. When authorities arrived there, Natasha was found dead. Authorities said at the time that her death was not being treated as suspicious. So when police say here it's not being treated as suspicious, and they usually say a report will be prepared for the coroner, that generally indicates that it was suicide or like an overdose or something like that. They don't often, Australian media outlets very, very rarely report on suicide. And it's part of their kind of guidelines and code of conduct that they don't. But the way they do it here is they say something along those lines, and then at the end of the article, they'll put in links for Lifeline and suicide helplines. So when they do that, it kind of indicates that that is probably what happened. It's now been over a year. We still don't, that has never been made public how Natasha did die. I am assuming on a golf course, there's trees. Maybe it was something to do with that. I obviously don't want to get into too graphic speculation, but it was a public place. That's what I have inferred from what they've said.
Yeah.
At the time, Queensland Premier, so he's the leader of the state. So he made a statement about her death at the time. His name was Stephen Miles. He said it was a tragic story. My sympathies go to her family and loved ones. So for the head of the state to make a statement about your death, it indicates that everyone kind of knew who she was. She had this crazy, crazy story, and then for it to come to this tragic sudden end in 2024. Natasha's sister Donna wrote this online. She said, you loved hard, laughed loud, and gave loyalty its definition. My heart is shattered that I have lost a little sister. Fly high and fly free, sissy. Until we meet again, you will forever be in my heart. So another woman on Facebook named Angie Page, she claimed to be one of Natasha's closest high school friends. She said, rest in peace, Tash. The media needs to stop referring to her as the girl in the cupboard. She had a family. She was a devoted mum who loved her kids. She had a good job and just wanted a peaceful life. So as I mentioned, they have said a report will be prepared for the coroner. I had a look on the coroner's website for Queensland just before we recorded this episode. There is nothing up yet. It can be a very slow process. They may not make it public. Could be a bunch of reasons. If it is complete, why they haven't made it public, but we don't know essentially what happened to her or why. It sounds like to me she made a threat, and if she disappeared and then he called for a welfare check. Obviously there was things going on in the background for him to be worried enough to call authorities and get them to go and check on her.
I feel like it's just like kind of glossed over that Scott's probably like a scumbag. I don't know. I mean, you did the research. Like, are people saying that because he was 22 and she was like 14, essentially probably groomed her? Who knows if he convinced her to be like, no, like, what's the only way we could be together is if you stay in my closet for the rest of your life, and otherwise I'm going to get arrested. Like,
yeah. Absolutely.
And then she probably tried to convince herself it was all worth it by staying with him, be like, no, look, like, I have this happy family. This is just what I always wanted. But deep down, she probably knew that she was a victim and taken advantage of and groomed, and probably just felt kind of embarrassed about the whole thing at that point and never wanted that with her life.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, to be honest, there isn't much. Like, I think it's always inferred that he did the wrong thing and that he was a creep, but I guess maybe people just generally became forgiving after they stayed together and they had these kids when she was of legal age, which absolutely doesn't make it right. But maybe, I don't know, I guess that's why it wasn't as played out. Like, it wasn't like he kind of groomed her and then dumped her. They did end up staying together, and eventually it would have been a legal relationship for them to have, but clearly it wasn't for many years before she was old enough.
That she felt like she had no choice, though, because she was like, I did this whole embarrassing thing. I was in a cupboard for years because of this guy. I have to marry him and have children with him, or else I'm going to look like an idiot.
Yeah. So it is a crazy case. Like, they said when she was found in the cupboard, her skin was literally like snow white because she hadn't been outside for the whole time.
Oh my God.
She obviously couldn't go to school, so she learned to sew and she practiced German on the internet.
Oh my God.
I just can't even also, like, I agree he needs more accountability in this, because he, as an adult, you should know that this is wrong. Like, he let her be cooped up in this house. I have no doubt he groomed her, and then also didn't get her any education. I feel like she was 100% dependent on him, and probably was her whole entire life.
And just like being okay with her living in your cupboard, in your closet, you wouldn't want like a better life for someone you allegedly love. I feel like people need to be harder on this guy because it doesn't seem like there's much uproar about him. Who wasn't even really charged. I guess by the time she was found, she was an adult, but like clearly he'd been having a sexual relationship with her. I don't know if they could prove that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming all these years when she was 15, 16, underage. I don't know. It just was like they couldn't really prove that. Maybe she'd be like unwilling to like make him look bad, so it just wasn't worth pursuing. But it just seems like very fucked up, and kind of everyone's just like, oh well, they're gonna stay together, so it's okay.
Yeah. So I had a look, like obviously I was trying to find some updates if there was any other information. There's an interesting Reddit discussion thread, and this is a very interesting comment. It says, it's pretty sad that she was groomed by an adult when she was 14 and he was only ever referred to as her boyfriend. Instead, she got branded as the lying bitch in the wardrobe. So again,
she's
true.
like the crazy one.
Yeah, like I have no, like she did the wrong thing. She ran away, but no doubt she was being groomed and coerced by this man to do so. And he enabled her to stay hidden for 5 years.
He could have easily been like, hey, like she's here.
Yeah.
She's hiding. She's like afraid of whatever, but she's here. Yeah. He didn't do that either. He was like, no, okay, you could live in my closet for 5 years and never see the sun. I'm like, what did she do all the time? Did she have a cell phone? Could she go on the internet? Did she have an iPad or something? Like,
well, she, like, I guess back then it was the late 90s, early 2000s. So there wouldn't have been that much of that. Like he was a milk delivery driver. She wasn't contributing any finances to the house. Like I'm assuming they probably didn't have, a lot of means even for technology back then, which was way more expensive. Like you used to have to pay per text for, on your cell phone and things like that. So maybe it was a little bit more limited in terms of what she could do.
Was she allowed out in the house? Like, was she only in the cupboard if people were around?
Yeah,
or was she always having to be in the cupboard?
And like I've read other comments that say like she kept the curtains closed, but she did only have to be in the cupboard when people came over, apparently. So she was generally allowed to, remain in the house and move around the house at least.
I guess that's a little better.
Yeah. This is another interesting comment. It's very 90s energy, vilifying victims because they're unlikable rather than questioning the circumstances around their situation.
Yeah,
someone else wrote, this is clearly a case of a child being groomed, use of coercive control and restricting her movement as a necessity to conceal the man's treatment of her. What kind of man thinks it's normal to prevent someone living their full life, having autonomy, contact with family and friends, going to school, etc.?
100%.
Yeah. So there is a 60 Minutes piece on Natasha that I'll link on the blog. There's some clips if you want to check it out. And I feel like a lot of people did afterwards question why she was able to, I guess, profit off her disappearance. She was able to probably make at least a few $100,000 off it. I guess there was no stopping her. There was no limits on what she could do. They were only charged with very minor offenses in relation to any of this. So, I guess what they did was legal and they were able to do whatever they wanted.
Legal except for her being a minor thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean in terms of afterwards, like she didn't do anything illegal by making money off it.
Yeah, right.
So someone said she was just 14 at the time. A relationship of this nature constitutes statutory rape. And the person wrote back and said it would have been pretty hard to prove when the only witness wouldn't testify. It doesn't make it right, but explains why it didn't go to trial.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I wonder if she ever talked to, what the fuck's his name, Mahoya again?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like no. Otherwise, he probably would have been out there and talking about it.
I wonder what he's up to these days.
Yeah, I haven't found much since 2017, so who even knows? Obviously, this is a pretty done and dusted case. I guess the only real things we will learn is if the coroner does release any information about Natasha's death. I do think it was very likely a suicide. But maybe we will learn some more. And when they do the coroner's report, they'll often release information about like her mental health leading up to the case, because if a coroner gets involved, they are asked if they can make recommendations about things that authorities can do to prevent the same type of incident from happening. So they could look into Natasha's mental health care. And like obviously with hers, there would have been a lot going on over the decades until whatever happened to her happened. So it would be an interesting read if they do decide to ever make it public, because I do think that there was a lot going on and she was failed. Scott failed her. I would be interested to know more about.
Failed. I feel like I wonder if they were just like, oh, it was definitely the serial killer, and then they were just, all right, case closed.
Yeah, And do you know what? I'm not sticking up for them because it does seem like their investigation was shitty. But if you have a serial killer who did actually kill at least 3 other people confessing,
it was right about the 3 other people.
And in the same little town, like, a little area. It's not like it was just a random guy confessing to random murders all over the world or all over the country. It was in one area where these 4 women went missing in a 1-year period. So
I do want to know if he really knew he was lying about it or just assumed that he did it. That's my question.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know. He isn't able to tell us, unfortunately.
And I do want to know if they really did cross paths a long time ago when the drugs, apparently.
Now that it's come out that Mahoya lied about his husband and, being a victim of a hate crime, now I'm like, well, maybe he just wants the attention. He might just be an attention seeker. Could be why he's inserted himself in both of the cases and given incorrect information.
What a mess. Poor Natasha, all around. Just, it's a sad story about what happened to her, even though, it's, shocking and, kind of, silly to be oh, she was, hiding in the cupboard. What a crazy girl, we were saying. But, when you actually think about it, it's actually very sad what happened to her.
And she was only, what was she? I think she was 40 when she died.
14 at the start?
No, she was 14. I'm just going to check if I've got this age right. Hold on. Yeah, so Natasha was 14 when she went missing and 40 when she died. So a very short life to have had a lot of trauma, a lot of clearly mental health struggles going on.
She had no friends really at that point. No one to really talk to.
I have no doubt that, and you'd always would have been tarred with that brush. Like that comment said, she was always known as the lying bitch in the cupboard. Whereas when she was groomed and, it would have been just a very hard thing to come back from.
Yeah, you're basically a pariah. Is that the word?
Yeah, pariah, social pariah and outcast. Everyone would have always, there would have been whispers in the neighborhood and things like that.
All right, so I guess that's it for this episode.
Yep.
Jack is being crabby, so I must go tempt him. So that is it for this episode. Let us know what you guys think. Everything will be on the blog, as it always is, at truecrimesocietyblog.com. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at True Crime Society. And if you want to follow me, I'm StephSum_ on Instagram. Olivia's TCS Olivia. If you want to see what we're up to, check us out on Patreon. We do weekly bonus episodes and all the episodes ad free. So you get 2 episodes a week without ads. Plus it's its own community where we have different chats and stuff. We share more about our lives on Patreon and all that. Plus we do earlier release of the main episodes. So check us out over there if you enjoy us, because it's a great time. And that's it. Leave us Spotify comments. Let us know what you guys think, your thoughts. Instagram, if you could share to your stories, listening to the podcast, so we could reshare them and everyone can see, and then maybe they'll come listen to us. That'd be great. It's a big help to us when you guys do things like that. So keep it up. But that is it. Thank you guys for listening. Stay safe out there. Peace out.
See ya.